And anti-colonialism. So earlier in the lessons, I told you about how the French had dominated Vietnam, not just economically or militarily. They had also tried to reshape the cultural and social aspects of Vietnam. Right now, religion is a very key component in determining the culture of a certain place, right? So culture was something which had also which had strengthened the French control, but it had also given ways to resistance against the colonizers. Now we will learn how. So first of all, Vietnam's religious beliefs consisted of Buddhism, of Confucianism, and of local practices. Right? But you'll be wondering, what is Confucianism? Well, it is it is a philosophical thought which is based on good conduct, which is based on practical wisdom, and it says that one should have proper social relationships, right? And that one should respect the parents and submit to the elders. Now, this particular logic is also extended to say that the relationship between the ruler and the people are like that only, that the people should submit to the ruler because the ruler is somewhat who is a parental figure, who is someone who is elder, right? So these were the kind of religious beliefs that Vietnam had, right? So what is the story? How did religion become a tool for colonial struggle, for fighting against the French? So since I just told you about how Vietnam had different kind of beliefs. It had Buddhism, Confucianism, and other local beliefs. So this easygoing attitude of Vietnam is it really annoyed the French, right? So the French used to follow Christianity, and the French missionaries introduced that, right? And they said they were really annoyed by it, so they wanted to correct it, the Vietnamese understanding of supernaturals. They wanted to say that look, we believe in certain kind of God, right? And you have to believe in that too. Whatever you are thinking is totally bad. This was this was the kind of logic that the French missionaries had. But see, if you have this kind of logic, obviously you will face hostility. So there was hostility against the Western presence from way back. From 1868, there was one scholars revolt which happened in that year, right? So now this scholars revolt was led by the imperial court officials, and what did they do? Well, they led an uprising against the Catholicism and the French power, and it happened in these two provinces of Vietnam. Now, these two names are quite difficult to pronounce, but yet I'll try for you. Ngu An and Ha Tin provinces, right? And in that uprising, thousands of Catholics were killed. Well, this was the result of the mustered up anger against the Catholic missionaries who were converting people since 17th century. So, this particular event, the Scholars' Revolt of 1868, it gave a certain inspiration to other patriots in Vietnam. Right. So let us see what happened. But we need to understand the kind of beliefs and the religions which were there in Vietnam. So we talked about Confucianism. Now this particular ideology, it was greatly followed by the Vietnamese elite. We must understand the social structure of Vietnam too. And they used to speak Chinese, right? And the peasantry, they used to follow syncretism. Now what is syncretism? uh, it consists of Buddhism and local beliefs, and it aims to bring together the different beliefs and practices, because they want to bring together the essence of different beliefs and practices. They don't want to focus on the difference between them. They want to focus over unity than the difference, right? And there were also the religions who claimed to have a vision of God. Now, some of these religions used to support the French, and some of these used to used to be the symbol, was used to be the inspiration for colonial resistance. Now, which were these kind of religion? So, inspired by this, there was one movement called Hua Hao movement in 1939. It started in 1939, and it was led by a man called Hun Pu So. Right. So it happened in the Mekong Delta of Indochina region. So this was based on the popular anti-French uprising. The religious ideas that the movement had taken was based in the anti-French uprising of the 19th century. So this man, this particular man called Hun Pu So, who was the founder of the Hua Hao movement, he was a miracle man. He used to perform miracles. He used to help the poor, and he was quite a revolutionary, so to speak. He used to criticize useless expenditure, and he used to oppose the sale of child bride, such kind of progressive thoughts, if you can imagine, right? And he used to oppose the gambling, use of alcohol and opium and all that. And people used to listen to him. If they, these were great reformatory thoughts that one can have at that point of time, and people used to listen to him. And what could be more scarier than that, right? So the French wanted to attempt to suppress this movement, and they did this. Right, so what did they do? They declared this person mad only. They said that he is a mad person, and he also gave him a name called Mad Bones, right? And he sent him to a mental asylum, and the doctor who was appointed to treat him, he also became his follower, right? And the French doctors also declared him sane by 1941. So what option did the French had? They simply exiled them to Laos, and their followers were sent to the concentration camps. Now, obviously, in concentration camps, you must be knowing that what happens, they are brutally tortured, right? So this was the scenario, this was the case of religion in the anti-colonial struggle in Vietnam. But religion had a contradiction to mainstream nationalism. See, on one part, the political parties used to extract support, from the religion, right? And on the other hand, they also couldn't control them, because and they also were not supporting their ideals and their activities. So this was the irony which used to happen between the political parties, the mainstream nationalism and the religion. But nevertheless, these kind of movements had a great impact in the anti-colonial struggle in Vietnam, and they shouldn't be undermined, right? So this topic is finished, and we have to now move on to our another topic, that is the vision for modernization. So here we will understand the idea of modernity. Now, what the Vietnamese were posed with the question of what is modern, and what meant to be a nationalist, right? And was it really necessary that if I have to be modern, if an average Vietnamese would think like that, that I have to simply disregard the traditions and tag them as backward and reject them, all the earlier ideas and social practices. So they were thinking the questions like these, right? So now the answers were different. Some people used to say that Vietnamese should strengthen their tradition to fight against the Western domination, and the others used to say that no, look, we have to learn from the West, and but at the same time we should also keep fighting against them, right? So in 19th century, something happened. There was a resistance led by the Confucian scholar activists. Now, who are the Confucian people? The ideology that I talked about, Confucianism, that it should be based on good conduct, proper social relationships, parents must be regarded, elders to be, we should submit to the elders and all that, right? So they there was a nationalist of such ideology. His name was Phan Boi Chau, right? And this person he became a great figure in the anti-colonial struggle in Vietnam. So he had formed his uh, revolutionary society, and he had also written a great book called The History of the Laws of Vietnam. Now this person, he met a Chinese reformer, Liang Qichao, in Yokohama, and he was quite influenced by this person. So the whatever he got influenced by this person reflects in this book, right? So in this book he talks about two things. On one hand, he talks about the loss of sovereignty of Vietnam at the hands of the French, and he also talks about the severity of ties with China. Right now, there was another nationalist called Phan Chu Trinh. Right now, this person, he was totally dead against the monarchy. He used to say that no, I don't want to believe in monarchy. The monarchy should not exist, right? And he wanted to simply establish a democratic republic in Vietnam, right? So he did accept the ideal of liberty, but at the same time he also said the French are not, they are not following it. It is their ideal, but they are not following it. They are not letting us be liberated, right? So he said that the French should do reformatory things in Vietnam. They should, establish legal and educational institutions, and develop the agricultural and industry sector, right? So this was the sort of scenario back then. And the other ways of becoming modern was to drive inspiration from Japan and from China. So Vietnam had close ties with Japan and China, and it was a sort of location for the Asian revolutionaries. So in 1900s to 1910, there was a Go East movement. What happened that there's some 300 Vietnamese students, they went to China to acquire modern education. Now, why they wanted to do it? To overthrow the puppet emperor and to re-establish the Nguyen dynasty, which the French had overthrown, right? And they wanted to seek foreign arms and help as fellow citizens. So, and this was all to drive out the French from Vietnam, right? And why Japan? Because Japan had modernized itself. It has resisted the the attempts of colonization by the West, and it has also defeated Russia in 1907. So it showed its credibility in military capabilities, right? So there was a branch of called called Restoration Society, which was formed in Tokyo, but it was shut down by Japan, and many revolutionaries like the Han Boi Chao, they were forced to exile to China and Thailand, and they were also very influenced by Chinese, right? I told you earlier in the lessons. So there was a popular movement of setting up of a republic in China in 1911. It was led by a revolutionary called. Here we have to talk about the Great Depression of 1930s. It is very important because it has a great impact in Vietnam. So the 1930s had saw a great economic recession all over the world. It had started in the USA, and it went on to retain as long as till 1939. So it was a really bad scenario back then, and it had impact in Vietnam, so much so that the rice and the rubber prices fell, and there were two provinces in Vietnam called Nghệ An and Ha Tinh. They were called the electrical fuses because they were quite radical in their nature, and anything bad which used to happen in Vietnam, they were the first ones to get affected by it, right? So because of the falling of rice prices and rubber plantation prices, there were rise in the rural deaths, and there were huge unemployment. So there were rural uprisings. People were badly affected by it, so they revolted and they demonstrated, and those uprisings were suppressed by the French, and quite brutally so. They were suppressed using the bombs and all that, right? So what happened that in Vietnam there were quite many nationalist groups, and they were competing among each others. So they were brought together to form the Vietnamese Communist Party. and it was done by a man called Ho Chi Minh, and that party was renamed to be known as Indo-Chinese Communist Party. Now, as I told you that it was done by a man called Ho Chi Minh, right? So you have to remember the man called Ho Chi Minh. He's very important throughout the lesson. Throughout the chapter, you have to remember his name. And he was quite inspired by the militant demonstration by European communist parties. So he was the one who inspired all of that and who did all of this, right? So also in 1940, a really bad thing happened. Like I told you in the last lesson that the Vietnamese were influenced by the Japanese modernity, and they were seeking help from Japan. But it turned out that Japan also had its imperial motives, and it then simply became crazy, and it occupied Vietnam and captured Hanoi. Right. So now the Vietnamese had to fight against French as well as the Japanese. Right. So in order to combat all of these, the League for Independence of Vietnam was formed, and it was also called Viet Minh, right? And they fought against the Japanese and the French, and in 1945, finally, Hanoi was recaptured, and which led to the Democratic Republic of Vietnam to came into being, right? So this is how Vietnam got its independence, and Ho Chi Minh became the chairman of Vietnam. But as I told you that Vietnam did get its formal independence in 1945, but it had taken 30 years to become a real republic, right? So what happened was that they had to face many challenges because the French were defeated at the hands of the League for the Independence of Vietnam, also called Viet Minh. So I'll refer to them as Viet Minh from now on, right? So their ego didn't stop. They tried to recapture Vietnam, and then used the emperor Bao Dai as their puppet, right? So with this offense by the French, the Viet Minh had to retreat from the hills called Dien Bien Phu, right? And but the Viet Minh show their courage. They kept fighting, and in 1954, quite after 8 years, they defeated the French again, right? So the fights had were done and all that. So the fights had were done and all that. So in Geneva, the peace negotiations followed, and it was then proposed to Vietnam that it should accept its division, and they were successful in persuading Vietnam. So a North Vietnam was created and a South Vietnam was created, and in North, Ho Chi Minh was formed its government, the communist government, and in South, Bao Dai's regime was there. It was the monarchy, right? But the thing is, this kind of division which happened, it was not good for Vietnam. It led to further fighting, further deaths, further destruction, and of not just of people but also environment. So what happened that there was a rise of an authoritarian person called Ngo Dinh Diem. He simply overthrew Bao Dai's regime. He's just set up a quite authoritarian and repressive government. So anyone who used to have opposing voice, they were labeled as communists, and they were jailed and they were killed. And quite interestingly, this person was very much influenced by the French culture. So he even outlawed Buddhism and only permitted Christianity. He followed a French law in Ordinance 10, right? So it was quite atrocious, right? It was ridiculous that someone who in Vietnam, he's simply outlawing the religion of Vietnam, somewhat a religion which is prevalent in Vietnam, and accepting and only permitting a foreign religion, and other many other reasons because of which they were quite opposing voices in there, and they thought that they should unite, and a National Liberation Front was formed called NLF, right? And it was supported by the Ho Chi Minh government in the north, and they were fighting for the unification of Vietnam. Now here we will talk about the entrance of USA. The USA was scared of the rise of communism in the world, and they were the capitalist country, so they were scared of communism, and they did not want the communism to become the dominant ideology. So they were scared of the communist alliance and their gaining power, so they decided to stick their nose in Vietnam's business, and then they simply sent their troops and arms in Vietnam. Right, so and that war when the USA entered into the war, it was quite horrific, with a huge number of service personnel and women were involved, and there were high casualties. Many were dead, many were wounded, and there were many who were 100% disabled. It was that atrocious, right? And there was a huge of heavy weapons as well, and the tanks, the B-52s, bombers, they were all used. Not just that, chemical weapons were used like napalm, like Agent Orange, phosphorus bombs. Now Agent Orange was used to destroy the jungles, to destroy the farmland, so that it can become easier to spot the people and to kill them. Can you imagine this, the ridiculous thing about it? And there used to be huge number of deaths among civilians, and the villages were destroyed and jungles were destroyed. Vietnam lost 14% of its farmland because of that. So it was all very bad, really bad, and it was natural that within the US itself there were critical voices, right? So, and the critical voices, because they thought that the war is indefensible, that the USA cannot win, and the USA had made services compulsory for the youth, and those youth were belonging from the minority and community, and they were the children from the working class, so they were naturally the critical voices against the USA, within the USA itself. And there were propaganda and critical films as well. Media played its role, film played its role in this war. So there were propaganda films which used to encourage the young people to fight in the war, like Green Berets, and critical films like Apocalypse Now. And it all happened because the USA simply feared that there will be a domino effect of Ho Chi Minh's communist government success, that the other region will get influenced by it, right? So but the people of Vietnam, they were not ready to give up, and the USA had underestimated the capability of the people of Vietnam. It had underestimated the nationalism there. So there was a miracle of Ho Chi Minh Trail, the man that we talked about. It was the symbol of Vietnam's struggle against the US, against the foreign powers, their effectiveness and their capability and the efficient use of their limited resources. So what was this Ho Chi Minh Trail? It was a network of footpaths and roads, right? So it was like this. This map I have drawn for you. So it also passed through Laos, to Cambodia, and to South Vietnam, right? And it was used to transport of humans, of troops and resources from north to south. It had support bases and hospitals. It used to supply through trucks and ports, and the porters were mostly the women, and they used to carry 25 kilos on their back, 70 kilos on bicycle, and such kind of an amazing thing. It was bombed regularly by the USA so that the supplies could be disrupted, but the people were really smart. It used to quickly get rebuilt as well, right? So the people showed their courage to fight off the USA, to fight off the French, and to fight off the Japanese, right? So this was the kind of Vietnamese nationalism that we had to learn in this chapter, and we have learned. If if we are to study any movement or any nationalist movement, any social movement, we must know that what kind of an effect it had among the people. And when I say people, it doesn't mean only population in general, but different sections of the society. So here in this particular segment, we will be studying about the women and their role in the nationalist struggle in the fight against the colonialism in Vietnam. So what happened was that in Vietnam, the women used to traditionally enjoy greater freedom than in China. So we all know that Vietnam was highly influenced by Chinese, yet the Vietnamese women, they used to enjoy greater freedom than they would have enjoyed in China, right? And it was quite prevalent in the lower class people, and even then the freedom was limited in the sense that they could not decide their future course of life, and consequently they did not also have any role in public life as well. But when the nationalist movement grew in Vietnam, a new kind of womanhood arose in Vietnam. Now what was that? Well, those women who used to rebel, used to fight against the social norms and practices, they were started to be idealized, they were started to be encouraged and valorized, right? And in 1930s, there was even a novel by Nhat Lin, which was quite controversial in Vietnam, because it was about a woman who had left a forced marriage to be with someone of her choice, to marry someone of her choice, and he was involved into the nationalist politics. So this just because she left a marriage and married someone of her choice, this was a thing of taboo, so it was quite debatable thing among the Vietnamese. But at the same time, it was also significant in the sense that she married someone of allegiance to the nationalist movement, right? But it was not so that the present women, the contemporary women, were only celebrated. Those women who were the rebels in the past too, they were also celebrated. So one such was a play written by Phan Boi Chau. We know about Phan Boi Chau. He was a nationalist in Vietnam. So he had written a play in 1913 about the Trung sisters who had fought against the Chinese. So in that play, it was written that the Trung sisters, they gathered somewhere around 30,000 force, and they fought against the Chinese. And when they got defeated, instead of submitting to and surrendering to the Chinese, they chose to commit suicide, and this was an act of failure for the Vietnamese. And its stories were told and depicted in paintings and pictures, right? So there was another woman called Tru Au in the 3rd century CE. She was considered a sacred figure, and there was a story about her that she was an orphan and she left the home to go to the jungle, and there she organized an army and she fought against the French. And similarly, when they got defeated, she drowned herself. So her stories were told in among the people in the homes, and she was considered a sacred figure, not just a martyr who fought for the honor of the country, right? So her images were used to popularize her and to inspire the people, right? And the women were also shown as warriors. So in 1960s, there was photos which was showing the women as brave fighters. They used to portray them as young, brave, and dedicated fighters. They used to show that how happy they were to carry rifle and to join the army. They used to show that they were fighting and shooting down planes and all that, right? And stories were written about that, and they were spoke and told among the people, telling their brave tales, right? And how they single-handedly killed the enemy. So there was this person called Nguyen Thi Duan. About her, it was said that she shot a jet with just 20 bullets, right? So the women were not just represented as warriors, but they were also represented, they were also the workers, right? So they were, in one hand they were shown having a rifle, and in another they were shown having a hammer, right? And all kind of women used to participate, whether young, whether old, everyone used to participate, selflessly working and fighting to save their country. So not just that, women also women did all sorts of things. They were nursing the wounded in the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They were constructing the underground rooms and tunnels. They were fighting the enemy. They were taking care of the Ho Chi Minh Trail and guarding it. And it was said that somewhere around 70 to 80% women were working in the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And others says that 1.5 million of women were in the regular army, in militia, and in local forces. The women were building airstrips, they were neutralizing the bombs, they were transporting the cargo, and they were shooting down the planes, right? So this was the kind of contribution that women made toward the nationalist movement in Vietnam. But when the times of peace arrived, they were not shown as the warriors. They did not remain the warriors, right? So they were only represented as workers, and it dominated. That image about the women dominated. So they were shown as working in agriculture cooperatives, in factories, and in production units. So as we can see that how only during the war they were represented as warriors, and when the times of peace arrived, they were reduced to portray, to work there, to give their traditional services, right? To do their traditional roles. So there was the end of the war. The war had to end, but the war was quite prolonged, and it had experienced a strong condemnation of the United States. The United States was very much criticized all over the world. Why? Because the USA had failed. First of all, it could not crush the Vietnamese. Second of all, it could not even win the support of the Vietnamese people. And also many young USA soldiers were killed, many Vietnamese civilians were killed. It was the epic example of brutality, of torture, of atrocity, of stupidity to fight into a war, right? So during the war, it was said that it was the first television war, and people were deluded because of that. The